First and Now is the official BC Lions podcast. Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski in the remote Go-Goat Sports studios. Thrilled to be back. Bit of a layoff since our last one, but boy, are we glad to have waited. Nick, what a night. Where do we start?
Yeah, exactly. And we got to get this podcast out quick because there's just so much to talk about with that fabulous win. But at the same time, like Coach said in the locker room, they apply that 24-hour rule. It's week 3. They didn't win the Grey Cup. But calling a spade, that was the white whale going into IG Field and winning a game there. And they did it in dominating fashion, which was I don't think anybody in that locker room surprised in the fashion they won, but definitely sent some shockwaves throughout the CFL world, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm okay to admit it. I am surprised. I don't think many people envisioned a win of that magnitude. Did I think the team could win? Obviously. I mean, we saw last season, just it's getting so razor thin. If Winnipeg is the measuring stick, coming in, we're right there. A couple plays in that Western final, we're talking maybe about a different result. But I'll tell you what, this game for me still had a couple of those moments where it's like, oh boy, like, I go back to that sequence before halftime. You have Caleros and company pinned at the 1 yard line. They're facing a 2nd and 7, so they get up to the 5, and then he lets a 47-yard completion go to the Carlton. I call the receiver first name Carlton. You can't go wrong with that. So at that point, the score I think was 10-3. So they're thinking, oh boy, here we go. They're going to get points, and it's going to be either tied or a 4-point lead at the half. But defense, Sione Tiahema gets the sack there to force the field goal, and then not a whole lot of time left. So, okay, maybe we'll get into field goal range. But Vernon unleashes a dart. What a perfectly thrown ball. I just watched that play again. Threading the needle. Whitehead makes the catch. McInnes makes another great grab on a corner route. And they're in business, touchdown to Hollins. To me, even though a little bit of doubt was starting to creep in, okay, we've let them off the mat here. They just keep responding. They respond well to adversity. That's the key, and that sequence was big for me.
100%, yeah. And it kind of reminded me of there was a game we hosted Ottawa last season where the same thing happened where, yeah, maybe it's late in the second quarter. Don't want to maybe push a play and force a turnover late in the second quarter, but Vernon had, I believe it was Hatcher, to set up a field goal in the last play of that half before the halftime in Ottawa. And yeah, it was the same thing. Like they wanted to go get points. They wanted to be aggressive. It stems throughout this whole roster. They're an aggressive group and a confident group at that too. And they definitely showcase their abilities too. That Whitehead throw, like you said, just a perfect throw, threading the needle. And you don't think Vernon Adams Jr. wants to go shot for shot with Zach Caleros too? Like VA is a very internally motivated person this year. There's a lot of pressure coming with having the keys to the offense this year, being the guy. And VA hit one of those throws too deep in his own territory too in the game. I believe it was to Hollins, to Winnipeg's sideline too. So it was one of those things where I bet VA's thinking, okay, Zach, whatever you can do, I can do better. And he proved that on the field yesterday.
Defense, we have to hit on it. 2 field goals, 2 straight games, no touchdowns allowed, 21 points allowed in 3 games. And I tell you, I'm going to be hitting up Steve Daniel here, league stats man, Lions historian, just to find out when was the last time there was a run like this, not just with our team, but in the entire Canadian Football League. Again, all that stuff that went down, Sean Lemon not making the team, and the incident with Jonathan Kongbo, and we were I was fielding questions as the media contact. What sort of reinforcements does the team plan? And then it's like, well, they're clearly happy with what they've got. It's a credit to Rick Campbell, Neil McAvoy, all the staff that they moved on from a couple of guys and stuck with the status quo. And Matthew Betts clearly is elevating himself as one of the top rush ends in this league. 3 of the 7 sacks, just a momentum killer. When was the last time you saw Stanley Bryant, Jamarcus Hardrick, elite offensive linemen in this league for a long time, but when was the last time you saw them outplayed like that?
Yeah, they looked overwhelmed, and it really started with Betts and Menard off the edge. They have such a good get off the line. They're veteran players, and I think they know now. they study film, they can read offenses, and then yeah, they have those motors too, and it just led to some outstanding coverage on containing Caleros. It's always the key, right? With Zach is once he gets out of the pocket, that's usually when they do their damage. And there just wasn't that ability last night. Betts and Menard and Sione and Regamba coming off the edge, they were just too fast and too disciplined too. They didn't make any mistakes either. And I think that's what I love about this defense right now too, is you could say, oh yeah, Betts is having monster performances. Gary Peters is doing amazing things in the backfield, but it's all 12 guys that are contributing. Jalen Edwards-Cooper is making breakups. Mm-hmm. It's not even 12 too. It's more than 12. You got guys like Nathan Cherry coming out on the rotation, getting a sack. It's literally every person on this defensive unit is making a contribution to the success they're having right now. And it's just great to see overall.
So we land in Winnipeg on Wednesday, 2:30 in the afternoon. Had a town car waiting there on the tarmac. So
yeah, Mr. Matt.
Yes, Mr. Matt. Yes, props to Amir, a royal limousine in Winnipeg, getting us to IG Field for TSN sit-downs and media availability. But there was a couple of Winnipeg reporters, Ted Wyman, Jeff Hamilton, guys you know well. Judy Owen was there with Canadian Press, and oftentimes a game of this magnitude, you get some media interest when we get to the other city. And I think it was Ted, his theme, talking to Coach Rick, Vernon Adams, and Gary Peters, was Winnipeg has been the measuring stick in this league, mainly because of the continuity, right? This is a veteran group, and maybe now we're finding out that maybe some of these guys have been together a little too long, but we're not going to jump to conclusions in week 3. Winnipeg's still going to be the measuring stick all season long. I'm not taking any stock in just one game, although it was important. But Ted was going with the theme that, maybe we're sort of trending in that direction. We're going the way Winnipeg went. You've heard Coach Rick talk about continuity, and we're talking about guys like Matthew Betts, David Menard back, Jalen Edwards-Cooper, guys in their 3rd, 4th season, and now is the time. And it was kind of refreshing to hear the other market talk about that, acknowledging that, okay, maybe we're trending upward here. And I think the fact that these guys have played together, this same coaching staff, in a sense, has been here for 3 seasons. That's worth noting, all of it.
100%. And I think the epitome of that is the offensive line. Last season, there was a massive turnaround in their play. And a lot of people, I say, just went ahead and contributed it to, Nathan Rourke is getting rid of the ball really quickly, so that means the offensive line is playing better. Well, what is it now? Because it's the exact same people. It's actually like you said, people who are like Jarrell Broxton were here in their 3rd season now, or been here for a couple of years, and they've developed, and now they're starting. Andrew Pearson too. He's been fantastic. I think he needs a little more love too. He's stuck it out as a 6th offensive lineman for a couple of years, and really been patient. Yeah, really been patient. Now he's getting his starting chance, and he's really thriving in it. Both those guys, Broxton and Pearson. So when you say continuity and just getting better and over years and is progressing and developing as a player, I think the offensive line right now, that's got to be the area you look at for what's most gelling right now.
Andrew Pearson, Pro Football Focus had him as the top-rated pass blocker in week 1. 3-0, but again, it was the way they got it done in Winnipeg. All 3 wins are in the division here, so you've got a leg up in the head-to-head tiebreaker on 3 of the 4 division rivals. Won't see Saskatchewan until after the first bye week. I think they're here on July the 22nd. And there'll be some exciting things to announce soon about that, tailgate parties and such. We're not going to get into it now, but again, it's continuing this theme of Amar Doman and everybody making these home games, all of them top-notch events. The Montreal Alouettes will be in town July 9th, the next home game. Before that, we have another road game. We're going to be in Toronto 1 week from Monday. And really, Nick, the 3 division wins, the big one in Winnipeg, get the defending Grey Cup champions next week. Really a chance to make more statements in the early going, because we've talked about this. I think Toronto is going to be, it's their division to lose in the East. It's maybe a little early to proclaim that, but I don't see anything from Hamilton, Montreal, Ottawa on paper. If all goes right for the Argos, they shouldn't be overtaken, at least in the regular season standings. But 3-0 for the Lions, all against division rivals. That adds a little extra importance, I think.
100%. I'm totally with you on the Toronto thing. I know we were even talking about it yesterday. I was mentioning to you that, Yeah, it's great to be 3-0, but I think there's maybe a bigger test coming up and going to the
Mm-hmm.
defending Grey Cup champs home and seeing what we can do against them. So, and then also the factor that it's week 3 and we have to go back to Winnipeg in August, and you don't think these guys are going to be motivated to
Oh
do that
yeah.
again? How good that felt last night. They're not going to be complacent with that win. They're going to want to do it again and go into Winnipeg and take over that barn again and make that. And I know even like the crowd too. It's Winnipeg's probably the most. I don't know what the word is. Maybe the most raucous crowd, where they talk a lot too. They talk a lot to the
Oh yeah.
players. They'll yell at you. They'll yell at us. Yeah. So there's a lot going on in that stadium, and I just making that stadium quiet. That's another aspect that just felt really good. I know the players would agree with that, and it felt good for us too. Just not having to deal with any of those fans yelling at us.
It's a raucous crowd, and it can turn quickly. Like a big moment for me. Remember the penalty Quincy Mauger took, the late hit on Dalton Schoen.
Oh, the booing, yeah.
So the BC sucks chant gets going right away when that happened, and it's like, okay, we're winning, but okay, it's good. I'm good with it. It's rivalries is what makes sport great, and you look at the history of the Lions franchise, some of the biggest periods in the Lions franchise success. Winnipeg has been the rival. You go way back. I don't remember this, but in the 80s, 3 straight Western finals at BC Place. Lions won 2 of them. Of course, the 85 Grey Cup they would win. 2011 Grey Cup when Winnipeg was one of their stints in the Eastern Division. So I love it. You get fueled by it. The players love it. And yeah, it's going to be fun to go back there in early August. Hopefully, that's the last time we go back there this year.
Yeah, and that's not a complaint by me either.
No.
I've gone on the record before to say I love going on the road to those hostile environments. It's good for the league. It's fun to go to. Like Regina and Winnipeg, you always have circled on the schedule for that aspect alone, right? And even Hamilton, to a sense, too. I'm excited to go there later this season because they're going to have an intense crowd too, and it's just fun. It makes the games more fun. It's nice. Like I said, making those crowds quiet because they're playing good football, and it's good for the league overall.
Couple more quick ones before we talk to Katie Hamilton. You know her as the BC Lions in-game host. She hosts a podcast herself, so we'll talk to Katie just about her role. But talking more about the defense, a couple of guys who have maybe done it quietly. Bo Lacumbo, again, second straight week, leads the squad in tackles. He had 7. And, that was a position worth talking about at the start of the year because remember, no more Jordan Williams, and Bo, in a sense, has once again become a full-time starter. They were rotating last year. Great to see Bo still competing at a high level.
100%. He's considered one of the leaders of that defense too. His play speaks for itself. He's one of those guys, like you said, flying around over the field, making tackles left and right. I thought he was a pretty integral part of stopping Brady Oliveira because Oliveira busted off a couple of runs in that first drive where it did kind of give that West Final flashback where you're thinking, oh boy, like Oliveira is going to run wild again. But then I thought Bo and Ben Haladic too, in the middle, they really shut that down from that moment on. And a guy like Ben Haladic too, another guy we should give a shout out to, 3rd round pick, and he's starting in his second full season now, or his second season as a starter now, and gets an interception yesterday. He's playing some great football too, and then Emmanuel Urgamba too, completing that linebacker core. We go defensive back. We call him I guess dime back or Sam linebacker, but yeah. Emmanuel Urgamba too off that edge. It's such a weapon to have him blitzing, and he got that sack yesterday too, which I know is a big one for him.
Yeah, I think Winnipeg started with 3 straight runs, and I'd say, okay, here we go. Let's settle down here, guys. And I have to talk special teams, the kick coverage way better. And Janarian Grant, one of those guys, can change a game with one play. And Derek Oswalt, Mike Benavides, of course, joining the staff a little late here at the end of camp. They were well prepared, and you see Josh Banks with a big hit on the opening kickoff on the Bombers guy, Cadwalder. How do you say his name? I think
it's Cadwalder, yeah.
Cadwalder, yeah.
I think.
Great special teams player he's been for them for a few years. But JB, the night train, making a statement. And yeah, this was just a flat out hit him in the mouth statement. There's that word again. There's that statement again. all three phases, but good to see them contain Janarian and Grant.
Yeah, the teams too. I know Isaiah Messham's really taken a leadership role, same with Josh Woods, and they've been beasts on the team so far. Patrice Renee is another guy who's come in this season playing us on special teams specifically right now, and he's been fantastic too. And then that Josh Banks block, it was on a Terry Williams kicker turned to open the third quarter, and that got the sideline fired up. There,
Right.
I saw Nate. I was looking at. I was down the sideline, but I could see Nathan Cherry jaw drop, saying, "Oh my god," because it was just a complete decleater block. And that was another thing about this win. They set the tone physically, pretty much throughout the entire game. Like Winnipeg or BC was by far the more physical team, and I think that was part of their game plan too. Is they wanted to show Winnipeg that they can't roll or they're not going to walk all over us, and we're going to punch back, and they did it in an impressive fashion.
Yeah. You hear that all the time. The more physical team, it usually bodes well for them. And yeah, again, seeing some comments on social media, some of the Bombers media, it's been a long time since Winnipeg got outplayed like that at home. They were 28-2 at IG Field in their last 30, right?
Crazy.
And one of those losses was due to kicking, basically, Montreal last year. And I can't. You have to go back to 2019, I think, for their last, because they went undefeated there in 21.
I can't even think about the loss.
It was 2019 pre-COVID, and this is the money one for me. The 2018 Banjo Bowl against Saskatchewan. That was their last loss at home to a Western rival.
Crazy.
When you think of everything that's gone on in this league and in the world in the last 5 years, Nick. So anyway, we'll flush it after this week. We had to get a recording in on this Friday just because we were jacked up to talk about the win, and pretty soon here we'll be on to Toronto. We'll talk a bit more about the Argos before we're done here, but in a matter of seconds, we're going to bring in Katie Hamilton. Everyone knows her. If you've been to a Lions game, does a great job interacting with fans and the crowd. Katie's going to talk about her career, her path, and what she loves most about the Lions and covering the games. That's coming up on First and Now. All right, it is now our great pleasure to bring in BC Lions in-game host. She hosts a podcast herself, her love of sports, soccer, you name it. The multi-talented Katie Hamilton is with us here. And Katie, how's it going? Glad to see you rocking the BC jacket there for those viewing this podcast.
I do. I got it. I'm repping. Thanks, Matt and Nick, for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, appreciate it. Been wanting to do this for a long time, and we were talking earlier. It's awesome to get the thoughts of some of the great women doing great things in sports. We had Kate Burness on from TSN last week. Very good. We encourage those that didn't catch it to check that out. We had Sarah Sed on, and now we have you. So that's outstanding. First off, we're talking a lot about the win in Winnipeg. I know you were watching. How impressed were you with that?
Oh, I was so impressed. It was such a great game. We have all my family come over for away games and do a big thing at my parents' house. So the Hamilton house was packed. We watched the game. It was just, fantastic. More than we could have expected, right? With the scoreline, the offense, the defense. It was just a great win for Lions.
Yeah, all three phases played well. And that sounds awesome, every road game getting together. So safe to say your family, they're all diehards, they're all locked in?
They are. I got everyone locked in. My dad comes to every home game with me, which is super fun. A big supporter. But yeah, everyone's locked in. We love the Lions. We love everything it's doing, the team, Amar, the ownership, just everything. So yeah, we're diehard BC Lions supporters over here.
Of course, our fans listening and watching will recognize your voice, the in-game host, season 2 of that, right? How much do you enjoy it, and how did the opportunity come about for you?
Oh man, I absolutely love it. I can't even put into words how much fun it is being the in-game host. And Matt, it's actually funny because years ago, I was taking a class at BCIT, and you came in and was one of the guest speakers to talk about your career with the Lions and in sports. And so I remember that, and after hearing you, I was like, that would be such a cool opportunity to volunteer, to work, just to be a part of the BC Lions. So I guess what came about is maybe 2 years ago, I sent an email to the Lions and I was just like, hey guys, I was coming back from COVID. I was like, are you looking for an in-game host? If so, let me know. And then a year later, I got an email from the Lions, literally a year. And they're like, hey, are you still interested in this? And at first I like looked over it a few times being like, is this a real response? And it was. And so I emailed back being like, yes, absolutely. And that's kind of how, I got the role as the in-game host.
That's awesome. Yes, and shout out to Brian Weeb at BCIT, friend of mine, and yeah, that was kind of cool for me. I took that same course. Don't want to date myself here, but it was 20 years ago. Perry Salkowski and Shane Foxman were the instructors then, and for me that gave me the itch even more to pursue a career. So good to see you making a lot out of it, and we'll let Nick take over here for a minute or two.
Well, I was just going to ask Katie that we're kind of in the same boat now, being in our second full seasons now with the Lions, and just like I've been thinking about how good it's been with this experience so far. You see these big home opener crowds, just the team success overall. Like, how much fun is that? Just seeing like these big 30,000 plus crowds in BC places and for the home openers, and hopefully more to come too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just so amazing. And it's something that I never could have expected is just the fans, the staff, the Lions, the team, just all of it. There's just this vibe that is so positive, so hungry to win football. And it really feels like a community and a family. And even going out today when there's 35,000 people or 30,000 people that we had, and the energy, you could really feel it, especially being down on the pitch. You could really feel it. So no, it's just absolutely amazing. I love interacting with the fans. We have some of the best fans like in the league. So yeah, it's truly fantastic.
And just seeing you on the sidelines during home games, you're someone who works closely with Emma Bonner, who's one of our fan favorite, or one of our favorites in the office here. Emma's great stuff. But how fun is it to work with Emma? Because Emma, whenever we're around Emma in the office, you're always smiling, laughing, having a good time.
Oh my gosh, Emma is the best. I am so happy I get to work with Emma every home game. She keeps me in line. She gives me my cues, make sure I'm all ready. I couldn't do it without her. And she's a fellow Irish person as well. So I just get so giddy inside hearing her accent, but she is so funny. She definitely keeps the energy, keeps it fun, keeps it light, and just overall a fantastic professional as well. She's amazing at her job. And like you said, like everyone loves her. She's such a hoot to work with. I love it.
Mm-hmm. This might be a little bit of a random question, man. I'm just curious to hear your answer. But during home games, when we're driving to score, or where we do score and get a touchdown, are you usually like in the end zone, like right there watching? Are you watching the jumbotron, or what's your strategy for watching the game and the big moments that come with it?
Totally. So we have kind of our little spot. It's at a certain corner, and that's kind of our home base for me. So we'll do ones that might just be audio hits if there's a graphic on the board. So that's kind of our home base. We know that's where we're going to go. So for the most part, I'll stay there. Now that it's second season and I understand like where I go and getting my timing and whatnot, I'm starting to venture out like last game, going behind the benches, going to the other end zone. So for the most part, I try to be in either end zone. And sometimes I try to catch it. I mean, last game, Dominic Rhymes caught a touchdown, and you could just feel that there was a touchdown coming. So I'm like, I'm going to grab my phone out and try to get a video of this. And it happened. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. Hang out at home base, or try to kind of walk around, get the action, feel the vibe behind the benches, the fans, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the way this offense performs, they can strike at any given moment. So we've talked about your current role, and we'll get into a couple of your other awesome projects. But growing up, was the CFL and the Lions big for you, or what were some of your big sports interests growing up?
Yeah, so of course, I followed the BC Lions. My main sport for me was soccer growing up, and then I played volleyball and softball. Came from a huge hockey family. And then, we watched the CFL, and sports were my life, and that's where I kind of knew that I wanted to take it for my career with coaching soccer and then being in broadcast. But it's tough. Like, I'm from Vancouver Island, so there wasn't any pro sports teams or many sports teams growing up. Now we have a pro soccer team, but the opportunities are more limited. So I wasn't sure after graduating high school if that was going to be the route for me. I knew that was my passion. I wanted to get into sports. I love telling sports stories. So that's what I wanted to do. And then one day I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go take that broadcasting class at BCIT. And so from there, that's kind of where it took off. And I'm so happy that I did do that. It opened so many doors, and it really gave me like the moment being like, yes, this is the industry that I want to work with. And yeah, but to the point at the beginning, yeah, sports were just my life, storytelling, hearing all the backgrounds of the athletes and the coaches. That's what really interested me. Yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Her love of sports is your podcast. What was the inspiration behind that? And tell the listeners and us a bit more about it.
Yeah, so Her Love of Sports, we're a podcast and platform that highlights professional women in the sports industry. So we do interviews with Olympians, pro athletes, coaches, and then also community members as well to kind of highlight their role. And community sports is the heart of sports and so important. So we really like to highlight that. But it basically came about because the dropout rate in girls' sports is massive, right? And I see that a lot in my career as a coach. And so highlighting female sports and showing the journey that they took, the route they took, obstacles they overcome, achievements, highlights, I thought was really important, especially in sports media. The coverage, we are seeing more coverage of female sports right now. But a few years back, it was more around 4% of women's sports was covered by media. So that was really important with making Her Love of Sports, is having a genuine platform to highlight all these amazing achievements and athletes and coaches in the industry.
Who's an example of a favorite guest you've had on?
Oh man, I've had so many. I'm going to say, I have a couple for you. I did one with someone named Emma Ensminger. So she won bronze in softball at the Tokyo Olympics. So I grew up with her. She's from the island, and we played on the same soccer team for many, many years, and a family friend. So going through that, knowing Emma since a young age, and then interviewing her, hearing her experience winning a medal at the Olympics was pretty magical. And yeah, there's been some really good ones. We did Cassie Campbell, hockey legend, and my cousin who got a scholarship to go play hockey. It got to interview her as well. So we'll have youth come on and kind of be my co-hosts. But yeah, those two were really fantastic, and just kind of like moments that, yeah, I'll always remember and love to listen back to the podcast and hear their stories.
And Katie, before we started, we were talking about how you're in Victoria right now on the island, and how cool is it to see though that the ownership for the BC Lions, they've taken initiatives like having these ferry programs to get people from across the BC to these games, and all the other initiatives that are going on with getting more fans downtown to Vancouver for game days. How cool is it to see?
Oh, it is so cool. When I saw that first, that there's going to be the ferry program, I was so giddy inside. I sent it to everybody being like, 4 p.m. kickoff, come on over, come enjoy the game. And you can feel it on the island as well. I can't even tell you how many times over the last season and then the beginning of this that people have commented on it, because I'll wear my BC Lions stuff here, or they'll be like, hey, I was just at the game, the home opener, we had a few. So you can really feel the vibe over in Victoria and Vancouver Island of the BC Lions as well. And I think that's amazing, and just kind of shows what the team, you guys are doing, highlighting the BC Lions with your podcast and everything, and what ownership and everyone's doing. So yeah, we can definitely feel it over here on the island. And yeah, being BC's team, we're just going with it.
How about some of the home game themes? I know we got some pretty cool ones coming up pretty much throughout the entire season. Is there any one that you're looking forward to in particular?
Yes. I get excited to see what the themes are going to be. I believe, is it our family one is our next home game?
Yeah.
Our family one.
Yeah.
That one's always great. I don't know if you can pinpoint an exact one. They're all kind of great. The diversity inclusion one that we had, and we had the dancers come. That was really great to kind of just see the community and see what BC is made of. But yeah, they're all really exciting. And I think that's what's so great is you can look forward to the upcoming home games for the players and the team and the game itself, but also for the themes, which are so much fun, and you get to play with that.
I'll tell you, I'm looking forward. It's a ways away. Part of it is because it's Winnipeg, but the Thanksgiving weekend gravy bowl, we're calling it. I got that one circled. Just something about turkey and poutine, and that could decide first place. So, just so you know, get ready for that one. That's going to be a fun one.
That's a good one. I'm going to put a big circle around it on my calendar too.
A lot of football to play. Couple more minutes with you, Katie. But again, we talked about it. We're excited and proud to showcase some of the great women doing great things in the sports industry. What is your message to any young girls out there wanting to pursue this career?
Yeah, I think just overall, if you're passionate about it and that's something you want to do, continue with it, right? You're going to get no's. It's a tough industry, but in the end, just keep going forward because someone will agree with you on what you're doing, right? The amount of no's that I've had, but the amount of yeses are just so sweet and so special. And that's what's kind of got me here. Put yourself out there, right? I wouldn't be in this position talking to you guys, hosting the BC Lions games if I didn't send that one email. So just go for it. Be true to yourself. And yeah, again, if it's your passion and you want to follow it, then just be your biggest supporter and go for it.
Put you on the spot here quickly. Who's your favorite current Lion? I know we've talked about rhymes and some of these characters.
You know, I had a feeling you were going to ask that question. And I was thinking about it the past day. You know, I like to be neutral in choosing, but I got to say, I look forward to seeing Lucky's home game entrances every time. I like to see, I go onto the social right away and be like, okay, what did he do today? What was the entrance? Like the horse one, I thought that one was great. So as far as that, I love watching Lucky's games. Hollins, I think, had a fantastic game yesterday. So exciting to watch. The catches, so dynamic. That's who I'm going to go with right now.
Here's a quick little inside the den moment. Did you catch this on the flight home, Nick? Lucky, as always, was helping the flight crew serve drinks.
Oh yeah,
he was wearing. He's going to post a picture of this, I'm sure.
It's already out.
The WestJet scarf, was it?
Yeah, he took one of the flight attendants' green and blue WestJet scarves, and it's actually on his Instagram story right now. So luck too fast on Instagram. He put it on there. He kept saying this too last night, but the caption is "I'm so WestJet," and that's all he was saying last night while he was walking back and forth on the aisles. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Hollins too. Hollins might be the guy that makes me laugh the most on the team. He's just a funny character too.
Yeah, that's it's always kind of a ritual. Lucky helping out the flight crew and yes, the plan, knock on wood, the entrances will return next home game. Of course, being injured last week, it didn't happen. And that's definitely become a great ritual. Nick, anything you wanted to close with here?
No, this was great, and it was
awesome.
Great catching up, Katie, and getting to talk about your podcast and everything. And yeah, it's exciting stuff all around right now.
Thanks, guys. It was so great. I was so excited to come on here. You guys are amazing. I love watching every episode. So yeah, thanks so much. Check box for me to be on here. It was actually my first podcast that I've been a guest on, which is weird. It's weird being in the other position, not asking the questions, being the one answering them. So yeah, thank you so much. This was so great.
Awesome. Yeah, it's an honor. Glad to do it, and we'll look forward to doing it down the road. In the meantime, we'll see you on July 9th. FanFest. Let's go.
Let's go. Thanks, guys.
Thanks to Katie Hamilton for joining us. She does a great job, and you heard her talk about it, her podcast, and she does. We saw her up in Kamloops doing soccer. It was Rivers FC. She was involved in some of the announcing, so well done. Had a solid run here these last few weeks, getting some passionate women in sports on. Of course, we had Kate Burness from TSN. We had Sarah Sett a couple of weeks ago, and it's great. It's great that everyone here has a platform and loves covering this league. Nick, we're heading to Toronto in, about 9 days from now. The holiday Monday, July 3rd, BMO Field, the defending Grey Cup champs. As we look around at the rest of week 3, Toronto will be in Edmonton, and this is a question we've been asking for weeks and months on this podcast. Are the Elks ripe for a home win? I'd tend to think no, but you never know, I guess.
Yeah, sorry Edmonton, but no. It would be a shocker to me if the Elks took down the defending Grey Cup champs. I thought Toronto looked really good in their season opening win last week, and their roster is pretty elite all across the board. And then they have a pretty raw quarterback, obviously, in Chad Kelly, who looked pretty dang good himself. And I think that's all they need from him is to play okay football, and they'll be just fine. And I think that their experience and their raw talent overall should prevail them to win over Edmonton. And then we can break the Argos down more and once we get to week 4.
So Toronto and Edmonton Sunday, and the Argos were not hampered by the week 1 bye, took care of Bo Levi Mitchell and the Ticats rather convincingly in week number 2, first game for them. So Toronto 1-0 heading into that game in Edmonton. Here's a big one. We're talking about this West Division. Saturday, Saskatchewan is in Calgary. Both of these teams coming off losses, 1-1. So a big early statement here for one of those teams when you're talking about the top 2-3 in the West. And I'm seeing Calgary's depth chart this morning. They're going to go with 2 rookie receivers. Of course, Reggie Begelton on the 6th game. So Calgary bitten by the injury bug here early. We'll see if they can build off their win in Ottawa.
Yeah, Saskatchewan too. Obviously, Trevor Harris was banged up last week, but still went. Nick Marshall and Darrell Walker, I know, were put on the injury list last week. So Saskatchewan's feeling it too. Both of these teams are quite banged up. And I know it's like we just talked about earlier with our game. It's only week 3, but I think this one is going to be a big test or a statement from either side. And I think it's fair to say that these two teams are maybe fighting for 3rd place in the West at this point, early on in the season, obviously, so a lot can change. But I think that both teams are going to go into this game to say, hey, like, we know where we stack up pretty evenly against one another on paper, and that's what the general consensus is, and we got to prove we're better than the team we're going against, whether it's Saskatchewan or Calgary, saying that to each other, right? So I'm interested to see how this one shakes out. I don't really have a lean in either way. I really like what Saskatchewan's been doing so far. I know they didn't get the best result last week, but I thought they played a good game overall, and just like you said, ran into Janarian Grant and all the problems he causes. But
that was a turning point.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how this one shakes out. I know both teams are going to be hungry to get a win in this one.
Yeah, so that'll be my Saturday night. Chilling at home, maybe pour a cocktail or two and watch the Riders and the Stampeders. We're recording this on the Friday, so by the time you listen to this, the game might be very well over. But Hamilton home to Montreal, 0-1 Ticats, 1-0 Alouettes. Montreal had the bye last week, but Matt Schiltz starting in place of the injured Bo Levi Mitchell. So we shall see. Home opener for the Ticats. You know how crazy it can get there at Tim Hortons Field. Montreal still working in some new faces at some key positions, our relatively first-year coaching staff, right? So I would lean toward the Tiger Cats here, Nick, but as we just saw at IG Field in Winnipeg, sometimes you may have to expect the unexpected.
Yeah, that's why you play the game, right? Another one here where I don't really have a lean either way. I've always liked Matthew Schultz as a quarterback, because I'm interested to see what he can do. I know Hamilton's quite banged up on the offensive line too. Our former left tackle Joel Figueroa is out for them this week, and I think they have another injury. I think it's Carter Woodmansey that's out for them, so they're quite banged up. But they still got James Butler in the backfield. I think JB's looked fantastic so far in the 2 games for Hamilton, although they're still winless. He's been a good spark on offense for them. Same with Duke Williams too. I've kind of been surprised that he's been so dynamic on offense for them throughout 2 weeks, but Montreal, they're off a bye week. I think that's going to be pretty important for them, getting Jason Moss and Cody Fajardo another week to develop their offensive scheme and see what they can come up with. And the last comment I want to say is shout out to those new Alouettes jerseys. I know those are their new thirds, right? And they're just a full red look. Yeah. And they're a big yay for me. Yeah,
kind of gives New England Patriot vibes from the 80s and 90s, the pre-Drew Bledsoe era. Doing some good things in Montreal. New ownership there. Joey Alaferri does a great job with their social and digital channels, and you wish that.
And their training camp doc.
Sorry?
And their training camp documentary, that was fantastic. I checked that out the other day.
Check that out. Yeah,
great,
their website.
really well produced.
Yeah. So a healthy Montreal franchise is good for the CFL. The BC Lions, very healthy these days, 3-0 heading into a couple of days off here. The team will get back to practice not until Wednesday of next week. Travel day Sunday. I think we're planning to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, Nick, game day morning in Toronto. We'll see. We'll see how tired we are, so to speak.
Yeah, a lot to do in that city.
Yeah, a lot to do. Week 4, BMO Field, 4 o'clock Pacific. BCLions.com. Get your tickets. All kinds of options. Kids 17 and under can get in for $10 a game. You can't beat it. Our new Coors Light Den is the social spot to be. If you want to be close to the action, you can check out our sideline seating. Save on Foods Field at BC Place. Sunday, July 9th, another 4 o'clock start. It's Fam Fest. Going to be lots of cool family and kid activities. And hopefully, we're talking about a 4-0 Lions team facing the Montreal Alouettes. First and Now is the official Lions podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review. Great to be here. Good vibes right now, Nick.
Can't wait, but still a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do. Enjoy it, everybody. We'll be back next week.